today's news, Saharan dust affecting BVI's air quality. Residents warned to be careful outdoors. And Governor says he wants the government to succeed in the Commission of Inquiry implementation process. And Tribunal head speaks public confidence in talk show appearance. And Department of Waste Management holds community meeting in 1st District. Viewers, these are more stories when 284 News return.
Yo, everything good, Dad?
Aye. This thing got me one way, Daddy.
What do you mean?
Ever since I hook up with this thing, can't eat, I can't sleep. This is the first thing I touch it when I reach home.
What do you really? Hey, this ain't like you know.
Dad, this thing got me staying home. Keeping out that trouble me.
Wow. What your name is?
Shit. I talking about my CCT life.
Don't worry about missing your favorite series, sports, news, and local programming. Come to CCT today and sign up for CCT Live to access over 80 channels. CCT Live. Bring it home.
1 month free trial turn into 5. 5 months turn into, well, you know I huff. I watching ball. I been watching football. Dad, Nickelodeon, Paw Patrol. I am hooked. Hook, I tell you.
Well, welcome viewers to the Tuesday, May 16th edition of 284 News. I am Kamal Haynes, bringing you the latest out of the British Virgin Islands. While leading today's news, residents are being asked to take precautionary measures when outdoors due to the present air quality over the Virgin Islands being affected by the passing of Saharan dust. The Department of Disaster Management issued a warning to the public on Tuesday after receiving reports from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. What the report said, NOAA reports a large plume of Saharan dust is present over the Virgin Islands. Larger particles from Saharan dust can irritate the skin and eyes. Smaller particles from Saharan dust can be inhaled and cause respiratory disorders and cardiovascular events. The Saharan dust has been linked to increased emergency department visits for asthma, end quote. Well, it also listed a category of persons who are most likely to be affected by the Saharan dust and should therefore exercise caution while outdoors, which include children, the elderly, people with respiratory illnesses, and persons with chronic cardiopulmonary diseases. Well, moving on, viewers, where Governor His Excellency John Rankin has publicly expressed his support in favor of the government fully completing the implementation of the Commission of Inquiry recommendations. Well, Governor Rankin made a comment while recently appearing as a guest on the local talk show Talking Points. He at the time was responding to a question from one of the hosts on how the people of the territory can contribute to the assistance of government and the governor's office in seeing all the recommendations implemented.
And I want this process to succeed. The last thing I want is for the implementation process to fail. So I am working as cooperatively, constructively as I can to achieve that success. One of the things you can do is help to hold us all to account. And that includes my office. So most of the areas of the COI recommendations which fall under my responsibility are being taken forward and are being taken forward in time. But I've got 2 areas of delay in my area. One is on the law enforcement review, and the second is on vetting of officers in police, customs and immigration. And I've not been able to make as quick progress in that area as I would have wished. I believe I'm now getting back on track. But you can, as members of the public, legitimately ask me questions. Why isn't this happening, Governor? What are you doing to resolve the issue? What's your new timeline for achieving results? But just as you could do that with me and my office, so you can do it, I believe, with the government as a whole and with individual ministries, calling people to account, asking if there have been delays in particular areas, and of course, for individuals with their goodwill, helping the government in these areas.
Well, as it relates to his satisfaction with the current progress made so far, Governor Rankin said he believes a more focused approach is necessary to fast-track the overall process.
Well, I, speaking for myself, would take the view that I've been able to work cooperatively with the previous government and have a cooperative relationship with Premier Wheatley. Of course, we don't always agree. We can have frank discussions as necessary, but the Premier, I know in terms of what he has said, remains publicly committed to the reform process, as am I. What I will be continuing to do is to work on moving beyond those public commitments into further more concrete delivery.
Well, the governor also provided some examples to highlight some of the areas where progress has been stalled, naming the Whistleblower Act and the Register of Interest Act as two prime examples where the government has fallen short in the implementation of the COI recommendations.
To give you, some examples, and the reasons for this, but the Whistleblower Act, which was passed under Premier Foy's administration, is not yet in force. Now, there are some administrative and resource arrangements required to take place around that, but I hope that we can now implement those without delay and bring that particular piece of legislation into operation. Similarly, and I know this is an area where there are differing views, I've made clear my expectation that the House of Assembly will return to the Register of Interest Act so that we can make it truly public and open to persons to see, rather than the current arrangements, which are not necessarily conducive to the sort of transparency which I believe underlies the commitment made in the framework document on Commission of Inquiry implementation.
Well, Governor Rankin said he is hopeful that the government can come to an agreement on the new deadline for the implementation of the COI recommendations before the end of this month.
The question of the deadlines in the run-up to May 2024, because clearly we need a little more time for the implementation, I hope will happen quickly, and I would like to get those revised deadlines agreed by the end of this month, if at all possible. But I think the more important thing, rather than just the adjustment of the deadlines, is actually getting the pace of work up and getting the substantive results achieved. And so, in my discussions with government, that's what I'll be focusing on.
Well, up next, Tribunal head speaks public confidence in talk show appearance, and Department of Waste Management holds community meeting in 1st District. But these are more stories after a word from our sponsors.
Looks like Johnny's ex-girlfriend finally found my car.
You've got CG. You're fine. I'll never forget the year those monkeys stole my car. They drove it over a cliff, burned the seats, and carved the words pineapple banana smoothie into all the doors. And that was after they used it for the bank heist. I don't blame them. It's their favorite smoothie, and I refuse to share the recipe.
No deductible for theft, malicious damage, and more. CG Insurance. Good like that.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here. My name is Kamal Haynes. Most of you know me from 284 News, but now you get to see me in a different light on my very own show called Health is Wealth. We have Joel Turnbull.
I don't want you to arch your back when you're pulling down.
Milton McLean.
First of all, right, your footwork.
Stephen Payne.
That was a 9 out of 10. I know you got the service down pat.
Steve Augustine.
You did a pretty hard workout today, so perhaps...
And as you can see, it's actually...
you're feeling it.
Alonzo Boynes.
Taekwondo.
Adam Murrows.
I'll speak as if you're an absolute beginner.
I am an absolute beginner.
You are an absolute beginner.
And Seth Graham.
It bites. It will bite.
Get your water, get your fruits and veggies, and experience a wealth of knowledge about getting healthy.
There goes my new car. Guess I'm back on my bike.
Your bike? CG offers new car replacement. Remember my monster truck days? Well, one night I attempted a 50-foot pogo double backflip. I landed it and went to karaoke. It wasn't until afterward that my car got hit by that fisherman. He gave me some great mahi-mahi though. Anyway, they paid fast and got me in a new car. Now Well, call a cab. I want you to meet my alpaca guy.
New car replacement for the first year of ownership. CG Insurance. Good like that.
Well, welcome back, viewers. Well, how will people gain confidence in the Financial Services Complaints Tribunal without access to information on its proceeds or the success rates of its interventions? Well, that was a question posed to the tribunal's chairman, Jack Husbands, as he featured as a guest on the Talking Points talk show. Well, while he admitted that no mechanisms currently exist to facilitate public access to such information, Husbands said that this could be an area worth exploring amid increased calls for openness and transparency in the Virgin Islands.
Well, we've had no allegations or no complaints about confidentiality over the period of time. I think, I mean, I don't want to be purely defensive, but I think we can pat ourselves on the back and say that we've handled that pretty well. We haven't had any questions like that of disclosure, wrongful disclosure of information, breach of confidentiality, and so on. But you make the wider point, to what extent members of the public can go and find out, like how you do with Expedia or whatever.
Right, exactly.
How your hotel is.
Yes.
We don't have that. We don't have that. Maybe that's something that could be put into the legislation. I suppose the law courts don't really have that. I don't know if the Labour Arbitration Tribunal has it. A lot of bodies don't have it, but maybe with more talk about openness.
Openness, exactly. That's the era that we're in.
Yes,
yes.
Maybe that's the next stage. Yes, yeah.
The discussions that they led to several suggestions for the tribunal to consider, including possibly establishing a registry where members of the public could find information on institutions frequently brought to the tribunal.
But is there a way that you can find out about institutions that are repeat offenders that have repeated complaints? You know, like if there was some sort of list or register that you might want to maybe...
Like the Better Business Bureau, that sort of thing.
Litigation in the law courts is public.
Yes.
You can go to the High Court registry and you can apply for a copy of the document that was filed to put somebody in court. Well, it's in civil cases, I'm sure you could probably do it in criminal cases as well. They're all private, all public. But arbitration is private. That's why a lot of people use arbitration. Why arbitration has become so popular, because it's private. You can get your dispute settled and it's not a public. And mediation is also private. It's a private mediation facility which tries to stop the matter before it gets to court. So mediation is private. So to that extent, it would take a lot of drafting and a lot of things to do to get that situation private or semi-public, but I think people probably prefer mediation and arbitration exactly for the purpose that is private.
He added, however, that a greater openness with the process may result in some entities being reluctant to participate in the due process.
You know how the Better Business Bureau, you can go and check how this business, you know, if the grading for this business or whether this business is a reliable business or complaints have been made. Maybe you need to do something like that for financial institutions so that people who are going to use those institutions know, well, maybe this one is a really good one to use, or I have to watch out for this.
Yes.
Because there's certain names that come up, it's my phone, that come up more often than not.
Right.
I must tell you, I hadn't thought about it. This is good for me to come here and be grilled. I actually hadn't thought about it because in my background, I know that mediation and arbitration are private. And that's probably precisely why a lot of people use mediation and arbitration.
Yes.
Because they're not public. But perhaps you made a good point that if not wholly public, it needs to be, there needs to be some way that the public would know what's going on. That's a matter for the Financial Services Commission. To what extent it will support the introduction of changes to the legislation to make that possible. But just one word of caution that if you make it public, like a law court, you may find that a lot of entities may sort of withdraw from the process because,
They don't want their names out there. But then don't get in the complaint situation, ideally.
Yeah.
That's the flip side, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I agree. I mean,
well, husbands explained further that the goal is to have issues resolved amicably. He also called for more media involvement in ensuring members of the public are informed.
What we'd like to see is a bit more publicity given to the role and the affairs of the tribunal so that the general public gets to know about it. I think the general public had the view that it dealt with insurance.
Right.
The public probably is not fully aware
Exactly.
that it is available to mediate all types of financial disputes between financial services or customers or whatever. But I take your point that whether we should go to that, whether we should make any amendments. The only amendment that people have proposed really is to make the decisions or the process mandatory, or to make it an initial court judgment where we can actually order a company to do one thing or the other.
Okay.
Now, that's not mediation. Typically, mediation is where you bring the parties together and try to arrive at a settlement. And it only gets binding once you signed off on the settlement. But before that, there's nothing that can force you to do it. That's mediation. So that's the mediation process. Maybe I would say there needs to be a mediation culture where the courts are now trying their hand at getting litigants to adopt the mediation culture so that parties don't go in for the hard kill anymore in litigation when it takes.
Moving on, viewers, where a three-stage strategy has been announced by the Department of Waste Management to tackle waste in the Virgin Islands. More in this report.
A three-stage strategy has been announced by the Department of Waste Management to tackle waste in the Virgin Islands. Acting Manager Mr. Neville Allen said at a recent District 1 community meeting that the department will seek to implement the action plan, which has a short-term, mid-term, and a long-term plan for tackling the territory's waste disposal problems. Mr. Allen said for the short-term solution, the department will seek to bury all incoming waste at the incinerator daily, covering the waste with a maximum of 6 inches of compacted soil to help minimize the risk of spontaneous fires. He said, and I quote, "We will increase site securities by installing security cameras at the entrance of the facility to help prevent unauthorized access to the dump site. This will help eliminate the problem of fires being caused by unauthorized persons who gain access to the site to obtain copper and other precious metals." In addition, Mr. Allen said the department will employ security personnel to monitor the site between 4 p.m. and 7 a.m. daily. He further added that an increase in waste separating and recycling efforts through education and installation of recyclable drop-off areas is high on the short-term agenda to reduce waste going to the dump site. In relation to the medium-term plans, Mr. Allen disclosed that full repairs will be conducted to the existing incinerator, including procuring and installing a new control panel, which was destroyed in a fire in February 2022. An ash conveyor, rams, and exhaust fans, which are all required to make the system functional. These items, according to Mr. Allen, have been ordered and are expected to be shipped in the coming months. He said, and I quote, "We will hire a contracting company to complete the repairs to the roof of the building and make the necessary electrical connections for the new control panels. Works are expected to be completed within the next 8 to 12 months. The final stage of the plan is to implement a ban on single-use plastic containers and incorporate a refund system on glass and aluminum containers. Mr. Allen explained that the initiative is to extract recyclable materials from the waste stream and litter throughout the Virgin Islands. Drafting instructions are currently being prepared and are expected to be completed by the end of July. The community meeting was joined by Minister for Health and Social Development, the Honorable Vincent O. Wheatley, Assistant Manager Mr. Anselm Myers, and members of Green VI. For 284 News, I'm Ron Grant.
Well, up next, a wave of art showcase and auction set for this Saturday, and TRC to host one-day symposium for approximately 300 students on cyberbullying. With these stories, when 284 News return.
Angie, how can I get my claims paid quick? Rent's due next week.
CG processes 99% of claims within 5 days. Remember when I was hang gliding with those goats? I caught a gust of wind and flew right into a moving car. Every appendage was in the cast, and they paid fast and fairly. That's what I get for trusting a man with a mustache and an eye patch. Now I gotta go. I'm meeting the guy who bedazzled my toes.
99% of claims are processed within 5 days. CG Insurance. Good like that.
Rashford made it. Manchester United have come from behind to lead.
At home or on the go, watch CCT Live. Download our app and carry your favorite TV shows, news, or live sports anywhere you go. Visit cctbvi.com/live, select your package, and tune in.
Father Jesus, that line here long like church service.
Alright, you enjoy the rest of the day. Next customer line, please. Wait, hold on a second.
Yes, Sonny boy, come. Yes, Sonny.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sonny boy. Hold on there. You must have cut front of people.
It's okay, I'll take care of it.
What? No man forget you.
How may I assist you?
Yes.
You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Welcome back, one and all. Well, the 5th annual wave of the art showcase and silent auction is once again coming to patrons of the Virgin Islands at Paradise Club this Saturday, May 20th from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Well, Senior Pastor of the New Life Baptist Church and member of the Rise Foundation, Pastor Javon Klein, sat down with our Ron Grant to speak on the upcoming event. Well, he began by sharing what he was most proud of as he reflected on the journey of the Rise Foundation.
I am most proud of the growth and the whole intention of it. Really, the first time we pulled it together, it was on the heels of the hurricanes that passed through, and we wanted to do something that brought some beauty to, or beautiful Virgin Islands after everything that we went through. So the first one was actually called Art from the Ashes.
Okay.
And then since then, it was so well received that we just decided to do it again and do it again and do it again. And until last year, we were able to attach an initiative of the foundation to it. And that, again, was well received and well supported. And I think it's going to be something that we're doing for a long time.
Well, Pastor Klein also shared exactly what the Rise Foundation is all about.
So the Rise Foundation is a nonprofit organization founded here in the BVI, geared towards youth development in the areas of art, science, and culture. We really aim to just edify the community of our young people with their natural gifts and their interests in those 3 areas, art, science, and culture, to make sure that we are developing a country that is not just economically sound, but when it comes to the arts, when it comes to the holistic person, we have a lot of substance continuing there.
Well, he also shed a light about this year's event and what persons can expect.
So this year's event is going to be a little bit different. Like I said, we keep growing, we keep doing more. So in comparison to the other years, a lot of the focus was put on the silent auction.
Okay.
And with this silent auction, we do our best to highlight young talent or unknown talent in our beautiful Virgin Islands to make sure, one, that they see that their art is worth something. So even with the collection of the proceeds, we make sure that the artists get half for their time and their dedication and their willingness. So we make sure that we put them on display, and we make sure that we put the beautiful art that is developed here in the BVI on display. This year, we're going to be taking some focus off of the silent auction itself. We're still going to have the silent auction because we have a lot of people that show up year after year looking for art, you know, what to add to their collection. So we're still having a silent auction. But what we noticed last year, Ron, is that people just enjoy being in the atmosphere of art.
I agree.
So we want to make some space for people to be more interactive with the art. So we're going to bring back our crown creations. We're going to bring back the face painting. You're going to have an opportunity to do your own painting. Yeah, we're going to have, of course, the fun things that we see all around now, the 360 photo booths. And we're going to have some opportunities for people to interact and get engaged with what is happening on the night and to leave your mark on the event. I'm not going to tell you how. You have to come out and see how you do that yourself.
Well, the event is free and persons are encouraged to come out and support. Well, Chief Executive Officer at the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, Mr. Guy Lester Malone, has reiterated the Commission's commitment to a positive creating digital environment that has zero tolerance for any form of harassment or abuse. For more in this report.
Chief Executive Officer at the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, Mr. Guy Lester Malone, has reiterated the Commission's commitment to a positive, creating digital environment that has zero tolerance for any form of harassment or abuse. Mr. Malone said it is important for everyone to stand against cyberbullying and to help promote a culture of kindness, empathy, and inclusivity. Mr. Malone said it is important for everyone to stand against cyberbullying and help promote a culture of kindness, empathy, and inclusivity online as the territory prepares to observe World Telecommunications and Information Society Day. The day's activities will be observed under the theme, Don't Be Mean Behind the Screen. At the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, he said, we take cyberbullying seriously and believe that everyone, inclusive of our youths, employees, customers, and stakeholders, has the right to a safe and respectful online experience. As part of the activities in observance of the day, the TRC organized a one-day symposium for approximately 300 students across the territory on Friday, May 19th at the Eileen L. Parsons Auditorium on the H. Lavely Stout Community College campus at Parakeet Bay, Tortola from 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. The keynote speaker for the symposium was Associate Director of the Alberti Center for Bullying Abuse Prevention at the University of Buffalo, the State University of New York, Dr. Stephanie Frederick. Dr. Frederick is an assistant professor of the School of Psychology, where her research investigates the role of families, peers, and schools in preventing and intervening with bullying, with a focus on cyberbullying and youth media. Dr. Frederick is a licensed psychologist and a nationally certified school psychologist. Organizers of this year's symposium, Ms. Joanna Reimer, mentioned that telecommunications, in particular the internet, provide incredible opportunities to solving problems and enhancing our lives. She said while there are instances where telecommunications create solutions, there are also some challenges that are more and more increasingly evident, especially among our children. Ms. Reimer added, and I quote, although cyberbullying is bullying with the use of digital technologies, cyberbullying and face-to-face bullying or physical altercations can often happen alongside each other, and as such, we thought it best to tackle this ongoing local and international dilemma by bringing our keynote speaker, Dr. Stephanie Frederick, to the Virgin Islands. World Telecommunications and Information Society Day has been observed each year since May 17, 1969, to mark and celebrate the founding of the International Telecommunications Union and the signing of the first International Telegraph Convention in 1865. The TRC says they are remaining committed to providing a safe, secure, and accessible digital environment for all citizens, and they believe that by working together, the power of telecommunications and information technologies can be harnessed to create a safer and more inclusive digital world. For 284 News, I'm Ron Grant.
Well, that's it for today's news roundup. Be sure to follow us for daily news updates at 284media.com and like us on Facebook at 284media and 284BVI on Instagram and Twitter. I'm Kamal Haynes, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Have a safe and enjoyable evening. Bye-bye.
Rashford made it. Manchester United.